So when I first started climbing, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even know that you could resole your shoes. I just thought you had to throw away your old ones and buy new ones. But thankfully, I was wrong. As you can see, I have a box full of shoes here. So this video is gonna help you identify how to resole your shoes. That's not true. So I'm gonna help you identify when you need to resole your shoes. As I said, when I first started climbing, I had no idea how to identify if I needed a resole at all. And I don't want you to go through that. So I'm gonna break it down and make it super simple. So the two main things we're gonna look at are the toe and the seam. So first up is the toe. The toe gets used so much when you're climbing. And of course, it's gonna be one of the first things that will wear out. So the first way you're gonna tell if your toe is wearing down is just by touching and feeling around the toe area, just to see if the rubber is becoming softer or more sensitive. Usually when you're climbing, you can tell that the toe is getting sensitive, if you can feel the holds more than usual, or if it just doesn't feel right. Now normally if you're climbing in the same shoe all the time, you tend to get a flow for that shoe. You forget that you're wearing it. So when change does happen, you can sense it very, very easily. So as you can see, that toe has a really bad hole in it right there. And if you see something like that, of course, that means it's time to resole. Another thing you're gonna wanna look for besides holes are bumps and flat spots. Any sort of oddity going throughout the shoe usually means that that's where it's being wore out the most at. I know this is all fairly obvious, but it's still worth it to talk about because usually it's the basic things that get looked over the most. So overall for the toe, check for sensitivity by, of course, touching. When you get the shoe on, try climbing, see if you feel any difference in it and give it an overall look, check for any visual wear and tear. And if nothing sticks out to you, chances are you probably don't need to resole. Number two, we're gonna look at the seam. If you're not familiar with the seam is the line that runs down and connects the sole to the rand of the shoe. And if you're not familiar with the rand, it's the bottom piece that you step on right here. So another thing to look for is the rounding of the toe. When you're climbing with the same pair of shoes day after day, it's super hard to tell that you're wearing down the toe. But I always find the contrast so crazy when I put a new shoe beside an old shoe. Here I have a new Mad Rock Shark 3 and the old Shark 3s that I've been climbing in for, like I say, probably about 5-6 months or so. And the amount of wear on the toe is surprisingly noticeable. So that's why I say it's good to give your shoes an overall look in case you miss anything. When you first buy a climbing shoe, the seam is very linear, almost in a straight line. But of course, like with any rubber, when you climb with it over time, you wear it down. One big thing you're gonna wanna look for in your shoes is any sort of deterioration of the rand. What that can look like is an uneven line. You'll still see the seam, but there may be a spot on the shoe that you use a lot that looks like a wave, or the line may totally be blurred from the sole and the rand. Like I said, usually what that means is that it's just a spot that you're climbing on a lot and you're wearing down the sole of the shoe. 9 times out of 10, it's probably a good idea to get a resole if you notice that, because if you wear through the sole and you start getting into the rand, it's a lot harder for the cobbler to fix that, and it's probably gonna cost you a little bit more. But yeah, it may seem super simple, but knowing the anatomy of your shoe is a very important thing. Being able to identify the wears and tears of the shoe can save you a lot of money in the future. And as you can see, not all shoes are built the same way. So hopefully this video has helped you become more aware of your shoes and identify when you may need to resole them. But yeah, it's late and I'm going to bed now, so I'll see you later.